Hello my friend, today's video is about Canadian banknotes. Please note that I'm not associated with the Bank of Canada and this video was not sponsored by any organization. I'll be using my own money to show you in this video. You will also see a few pictures that I took from a Flickr account of the Bank of Canada that they kindly allow public to use. So thank you.
Canada has an extensive history with regard to its currencies. Prior to European contact, Indigenous peoples in Canada used items such as beads and furs for trading purposes, which continued when trade with Europeans began. During the period of French and British colonization, various coins and banknotes were introduced, and the Canadian colonies gradually moved away from the British pound and adopted currencies linked to the United States dollar. With Confederation in 1867, the Canadian dollar was established. By the mid-20th century, the Bank of Canada was the sole issuer of paper currency, and other banks ceased to issue banknotes. Banknotes of the Canadian dollar, also called bills, denominated in Canadian dollars. Currently, they're issued in $5, $10, $20, $50, and $100 denominations. All current bills are issued by the Bank of Canada, which released its first series of notes in 1935. The current series of Polymer Banknotes were introduced into circulation between 2011 and 2013. Banknotes issued in Canada can be viewed at the Bank of Canada Museum in Ottawa. The Bank of Canada is a Crown corporation and Canada's central bank. Chartered in 1934 under the Bank of Canada Act, its headquarters are located in the nation's capital. I actually live about 30 minutes away from it. There were many series of bills produced over the years. Beginning in 2011, the Bank of Canada introduced a new series of polymer banknotes. In place of a watermark are two visual features: a translucent maple leaf and a transparent window. The window is fringed by maple leaves. At its top is a smaller version of the portrait, and at its bottom is a light-refracting metallic likeness of an architectural feature from the Parliament buildings. The portraits on the face are more centered on the note. The backs of the notes introduce new cultural and thematic imagery. The polymer notes continue the tactile feature from the Canadian Journey series. And now, let's take a look at each bill of the Frontier series. $5 are blue and showcase portrait of Wilfrid Laurier, the Prime Minister of Canada, between 1896 and 1911. The building in the holographic metallic foil is the West Block of Parliament. The other side has Canadarm2 and Dextra. The picture of an astronaut represents all Canadians who have contributed to the space program and the scientific research conducted on board the International Space Station. The prototype $5 banknote with no serial number was unveiled by a Canadian astronaut, Chris Hadfield, on April 30, 2013 from the International Space Station during Expedition 35. It was significant as Hadfield actually had installed the Canadarm2 during the Space Shuttle Endeavour mission STS-100 in 2001. This specific bill is now displayed at the Bank of Canada Museum. $10 are purple and feature a portrait of John A. Macdonald, the first Prime Minister of Canada from 1867 to 1873, and later from 1878 to 1891. He's one of the fathers of Confederation. The reverse features the passenger train Canadian passing through the Canadian Rockies, symbolizing the country's monumental feat of building a pan-Canadian railway. The banknote was first circulated on November 7, 2013, the 128th anniversary of the ceremonial last spike driven into the Canadian Pacific Railway at Craigellachie, British Columbia. $20 are green and have a portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. It received approval from the Queen herself for use on the banknote. The building in the holographic metallic foil is the Peace Tower of Parliament. The reverse features the Canadian National Vimy Memorial, reflecting the contributions of Canada in conflicts throughout its military history. The banknote was unveiled and released into circulation at a national ceremony at the Canadian War Museum in Ottawa. $50 are red and feature a portrait of William Lyon Mackenzie King, the Prime Minister of Canada between 1921 and 1930, and then again between 1935 and 1948. The building in the holographic metallic foil is the center block of Parliament. The reverse features images focusing on the Canadian Coast Guard ship Amundsen in the Arctic, reflecting Canada's northern frontier and its role in Arctic research. The syllabic text appearing above the image of the ship represents the Inuktitut word meaning Arctic. The background contains a simplified adaptation of a map of northern Canada provided by Natural Resources Canada and an artistic rendering of a navigational compass. The banknote was unveiled and released into circulation at a national ceremony at the Canadian Coast Guard port facility in Quebec. A $100 bill is brown and features a portrait of Robert Borden, Prime Minister of Canada between 1911 and 1920. The building in the holographic metallic foil is the East Block of Parliament. The reverse features images focusing on Canadian innovation in medicine, such as the invention of the pacemaker and Canadian research in mapping the human genetic code. In the center is a drawing of a researcher or scientist using a microscope, representing all the men and women who have contributed to medical research in Canada. The bottle of insulin represents the discovery of the peptide hormone by Frederick Banting and Charles Best in 1921. The other elements are the adaptation of a strand of DNA and the electrocardiogram track pattern of a healthy human heart. The banknote was unveiled and released into circulation at a national ceremony at the Mars Discovery District in Toronto. On International Women's Day 2016, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced that an iconic Canadian woman would be featured on one of the upcoming banknotes. On December 8, 2016, the Government of Canada and the Bank of Canada announced that civil rights activist Viola Desmond will replace Sir John A. Macdonald, who had been on the face of $10 note since 1971. She would become the first non-royal woman to appear alone on a regularly circulated Bank of Canada note. This bill was released to the public on November 19, 2018. On the opposite side is the Canadian Museum for Human Rights. A passage from Canadian Charter of Rights, Section 15, is right above it. It reads, "Every individual is equal before and under the law and has a right to equal protection and equal benefit of the law without discrimination."
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed my video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.